So it's 5 o'clock. Can we have everybody sit down, please? It's 5. We can start. They don't all have to come out. You can just open the meeting. Oh, we have a quorum, yes.
One. That's what I thought we needed, at least. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting for Tuesday, March the 7th. And a little bit about our agenda tonight. In a minute, we're going to recess, and we're going to go into closed executive session. We'll recess in the council dining room. When we come back, we'll go through the invocation. I'll lead the invocation, and then we'll have Sugar Mill Elementary Student Council will lead us in the pledge to the nation's flag and to the Texas flag. And then we'll have a brief recognition, then we'll move on to the meat of the agenda. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and recess. We'll go into the council dining room, and we should be back out here easily by 5:30. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and reconvene the meeting for Tuesday, March the 7th. If you all would please stand, we're going to start with the invocation. Heavenly Father, we love you and thank you for all that you do for our city. Guide us in our daily walk with you. We ask that you give us compassion for those that are less fortunate and the wisdom to govern fairly. We also ask for your blessing on our police, fire, and EMS and staff, as they not only protect us and keep us safe, but provide an exceptional level of service to our citizens. Bless our great nation, the men and women of our armed forces and special forces who give their lives to protect the freedom we enjoy. May we never forget that this freedom was purchased at a great cost. We ask all these things in the name above all names. Amen. And now if you would remain standing, we have the great pleasure tonight to introduce Sugar Mill Elementary Student Council. I'm going to ask the teacher, Stephanie Thorpe, if she, Miss Lori Norris, Miss Josie Barrios. Did I miss any of the teachers? Okay. And then students Reeve McBride, Sadie Aristondo, Emily Casey, Viraj Mistry, Brinley Terrell, Ethan Black, Naomi Gabriel, Piper Butler, Claire Treese, Molly Applegate, Paris Gray, and Ahmet. Ducour. Ahmet Ducour. I get it right? They didn't have the last name down here. Sorry about that. Okay. You guys are going to lead us in the pledge to the nation's flag, which is right over there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. Get everybody, we're big on pictures. We're going to get the teachers out here where we can see it. Here we go. Yeah, there we go, right there. Council members? Our second recognition is a recognition of the Fire Academy graduation class of 20. Boker, you mean they actually graduated? Boker, you're telling me they graduated? They've officially graduated, and you're gonna tell us who they are, and we're gonna give them their graduation plaques.
Yes, sir. So this was the Citizens Fire Academy. I'll just speak louder. You know, the last time I saw this many cops, there was a house on fire. They love to park in front of the house. So, we're concluding our Citizens Fire Academy class number 20. And a couple of things. We did this differently is we have shunted our administrative personnel out to operations because of our increased call volume. we had to kind of call an audible. We leaned on Scott Bowerman to organize the class, but increasingly we leaned on our operations people to actually deliver the class in real time. And the feedback that we've gotten exceeds feedback from previous years. Like, necessity kind of created an opportunity for us to do this, but it really enhanced, I believe, the experience for our students. So thank you to the operations personnel that took place in that. And with that, I'll ask Scott to recognize each member, and we have a plaque suitable for framing.
Doug, bring the ops people down. Come on down, guys. They can't see you back there.
All right, first we have Mr. Chris Agner. And Andrea Barrera. Janet Chabert. And Zayed Chabert. Tammy Korb. Rosa Gutierrez. Daniel Harris. He may not be here tonight. Eduardo Enriquez. No. Kareem Heshmat. Allison Johnson. Alexei Klestov. Yeah. Bill Leska. Janine Partridge. Ramesh Patel. Samantha Sperry. Jim Vonderhaar. Waji Yang. Peace Joseph. And Terry Zaruba. Yeah. All right. That's all.
Well, congratulations. This is a good-looking group here. Council, if you'd join us for some pictures. And we'll just spread the council. If you guys could step this way, the council will stand behind you. You might want to just stay up there. It might be easier to stay up there. Yeah, there we go. We can see those shining faces. They've never. At this time, we're going to move to item number 3, which is public comment. We have one item that I'm going to read into the public record, and then on deck will be Miss Susan Ridley. The item I'm going to read in the public record is from Farah Ahmed, a 30-year resident of Sugar Land. We citizens are grateful that Char House has a developer that wants to take a chance in our city. The people of Sugar Land understand that apartments are one of many types of building products that developers should plan for. What we are asking for is balance and smart development. There is strong indication from previous presentations that the Imperial Rack will have up to 1,200 apartment units. That many units in the area will have a strong negative impact on school and traffic in schools and infrastructure, and no study has been provided to even show the real impact. We are all looking into the future, but that requires real planning. There is no guarantee that the wishes or vision of this council, which we are asked to trust, will hold these same elected positions in the next 3 to 8 years to carry out those wishes. I will also add that the City Council today is voting for changing the ordinance from single family to multifamily for 28 acres on today's agenda in the new territory area. We have more apartments coming to Sugar Land. For Imperial, we need a balance of condo townhouses included and not just apartments. We need new innovative live-in workplaces where so many young people have an opportunity to live in a city like Sugar Land and work remotely. As an example of the past, the condos, which were first slotted as apartments in Town Square, are now a testament of what we didn't plan for a future. Building products like condos and townhouses can energize an economic district if enough of them are built. Work-live options were not pursued. All this would have revitalized the density that was needed for Town Square. Just one example, none of the condos in Town Square have enclosed climate-controlled hallways, which is a superior product, and that condo developer now has been authorized to build apartments in the Imperial Rack area also. The developer of the Town Square condos was even sued by Terrafell Lofts in 2020. The citizens spent months and years volunteering for land use plan that asked for a cap of 200 units for apartments. Why is that all being ignored? Build a superior product that is innovative is what we ask for when it comes to how people want to live. Building standard matchstick apartments is not what we want, and we can see how aging apartments in Sugar Land are faring, many of them more than 20 years old. It is not just the developer that needs to drive the development. The city needs to have a detailed plan of what product it is looking for to attract more residents and young professionals. We don't see that you have a plan that looks so piecemeal without conditions. I ask the City Council to pause today on the development until we have more details of future development, or to make your vote conditional on more transparency and details on how many condos and townhomes the developer has plans for. Now I'll ask that we have Ms. Susan Ridley. Susan, if you'd like to, your name and address, please, and then you'll have 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Let's just go with the microphone.
My name is Susan Ridley. I thank the council for allowing me to speak. I spoke earlier at the 4 o'clock meeting, and my main concern was the fact that in the February 7th Sugar Land Division Development Council approved the funding for this permit project, and then we had the city council meeting on 2/21, and y'all voted, but y'all did not announce that the funding was already approved. So I thought that having this long 4-hour meeting on the 21st was like a dog and pony show when the decision had already been decided, because y'all already approved the funding, but y'all didn't announce it to the constituents that y'all had already approved it. That's all my main concern. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Susan. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on any of the agenda items? It does have to be on the agenda item. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to item number 4, the consent agenda. I've had a request by one of the council members. We're going to pull item number 4C. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with a motion If there are no more items to be pulled, a motion to approve the other items. Do I have a motion and a second? Got a motion by McCutcheon? Second. Got a second by Ferguson? You'll vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. I'm now going to ask that we ask Todd Zettelmoyer, support services captain, if he or Chief, are you going to make Chief Poland's going to make the presentation. Let me read the item. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Resolution number 2307, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Sugar Land, Texas, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance for BJA fiscal year 23, the Kevin and Avante program, reducing injury and death of missing individuals with dementia and developmental disabilities grant, and designated the city manager or his designee as authorized grant official to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant, and to execute all grant documents. Chief.
Yes, sir. Mayor, thank you very much. So I do not have a PowerPoint for this, but I am very familiar with Project Lifesaver and this grant that we are applying for. The grant is for a startup kit, for a startup program for our department to initiate Project Lifesaver. Project Lifesaver is very near and dear to my heart, a very successful program that I had in my prior agency. And when I came here to the city of Sugar Land and I learned that we were, the county was servicing, the county sheriff's office was servicing clients within the city suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia as part of this program, that caught my attention. I'm a true believer in that these citizens reside in the city of Sugar Land. It's our job to serve the residents with this service. So Project Lifesaver is a nonprofit international company that provides law enforcement the technology and equipment to help families track and bring home loved ones that are suffering from Alzheimer's and or dementia of all ages that wander off. It's very common in law enforcement that we deal with these calls for service, and it can be, law enforcement can find that they spend a tremendous amount of time, resources in searching for these folks that are wandering off. The technology that is involved, it is very simple technology. It's old technology, but it's extremely effective. And when I say that, so if I have a loved one that is suffering from either dementia or Alzheimer's, I can register them with the city police department. At that point, the city would provide the equipment, which is a simple wristband, and it works and operates off of radio frequencies or VHF signal. And the reason that is so successful is it can get around obstructions just much like the radio in your car compared to a GPS. You can lose a GPS signal if you go inside a building or things of that nature. So with these bands, the wristbands that the client or the family member would wear, they are assigned to an officer, and that officer visits that family about every 90 days. They make sure that the band is still working. They replace the battery inside the band. With the with the radio frequencies and the VH transmitters, the batteries can last for about 90 days, which are much better than a GPS system. Think of your cell phone, how quickly you can draw the battery on your cell phone. So the client wears the band. If they wander off, the city PD then has antennas, and it's simply triangulation and searching for the loved one. You can do it from air on a drone. You can attach the antenna to a drone. You do it from a car. You can do it on foot, and you're constantly working your way to the signal to recover the person that's wandered off. In my prior department, we had 100% success rate. It's that effective. It's that effective, and the technology is that sound. And again, when I learned that we do have clients, I think between 8 and 12 clients that live in the city, but they're being serviced by the county sheriff's office, that struck a nerve with me, quite honestly. And I believe that's a service that the police department should offer. We're writing this grant out of hopes to get a couple startup packages for this equipment. The equipment's not that expensive, but out of the grant, it is nationwide, and I believe they're going to offer up to 8 recipients. So the chances are slim, to be awarded this grant, but I'm not going to stop in trying to get this program underway. It's very successful, as I said, and very near and dear to my heart. I got a family member back home that is part of this, and when my father left and drove 7 hours into another state, and a state trooper found him on the side of the road, it was because of Project Lifesaver. So it's a very good program, very successful. I think it'd be a great way to help citizens in our community that are suffering from these illnesses, and it's quite simple to put into place.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Question, Suzanne?
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight and responding to the request. I make a motion to approve, sir.
I've got a motion by Wally. Do I have a second? Got a second by Kermally. You vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. I am now going to turn the podium over to the Mayor Pro Tem, Stuart Jacobson. I have a conflict on the next item. I want it reflected in the public record that I have neither sought, participated in discussions, nor solicited anything to do with the half contract that's going to be considered. I'll step out. Come get me when you're done.
Item number 5, contracts and agreements. Consideration of and action on authorization of a professional services contract with Half Associates, Inc. in the amount of $149,790 for the Integrated Stormwater Management Model Phase 4 updates. And we have Andrea Broughton, our assistant engineer. Andrea.
Yes, good evening, council members. So we bring forward tonight the Phase 4 of the ISWIM, or Integrated Stormwater Management Model. This project started and was created back in 2008. In general, I think most folks on council are aware of the benefits of this, but just to give a brief background, the comprehensive geodatabase is of the city's drainage infrastructure, and we've combined that with storm sewer infrastructure that we georeference in, hydraulic models for the Brazos River and Oyster Creek, and then our city drainage facilities, and then also the 100-year ponding map. So we kind of have a network that we created as kind of a base map, if you will, for the background. So in 2017, we did the Phase 1 update, and in this update, we incorporated the most recent flood and drainage studies that were developed after Hurricane Harvey. We updated the stormwater infrastructure that we had been put in place since the initiation of the project. We actually had the opportunity to integrate the 2014 LIDAR data, which was huge because of just change due to subsidence in the area and just different land improvements that weren't reflected in the old elevation and LIDAR data. We also set up a web-based model application for this, so it could be accessed through the web as opposed to having to be on the server through the city. And that was significant because if something happened to a city facility where the person who needed to access this program or this information was not able to get to that location, they could still access it through the web at a remote location. So that was significant in that phase update. And then we also identified gaps in the city ponding maps. For the next phase, we did in 2019, the Phase 2 update. We, of course, always want to incorporate the levee district and what they do, so we incorporated their drainage studies as well. We covered the new annexed areas of New Territory and Greatwood areas. We updated the H&H models using the Atlas 14 rainfall data that we had adopted. And then we also included some different frequency storm events, the 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100 and 500 year storm events. And then we also created a web-based ponding map now that we can see the locations and approximate depths of ponding during specific storm events and rainfall data. And then shortly after, we did the 2020 Phase 3 update. So this provided more improvements in the prediction capabilities, and we integrated our other resources that we had implemented and put in the field, which included the 28 rain and or stream gauges. So we got live data of what's actually happening out there, not just information from local meteorologists saying, we got 3 inches of rain. well, we had it more pinpoint where we actually get, we got 3 inches over there, but we actually got 5 here and maybe only 1 there. And we saw actually what is happening live at these locations. And then also, so with that information, we were able to provide citywide ponding maps for, more of the short duration storms that we see, kind of the flash flooding that we see. And we're like, oh gosh, I can't get out. I can't get out of my neighborhood, or I can't get back to this place. So this helped in that effect. And then the other huge step forward in this update was the public interfacing web map. So it actually gives, just anyone who can access the web, opportunity to look at scenarios and look at live updates based on those stream gauges to say, hey, it looks like this area of the city is flooding. I'm at work in Houston or somewhere else. I need to leave work early to get home because it's only going to get worse. So that helps the public. It also helps city staff and just organization of any major events like that. And then, of course, we had the real-time update of the maps, rainfall, and ponding layers, based on this accumulated rainfall data and storm duration. So with the Phase 4 update, we're looking to, it's not going to have as significant of changes on there, but it's sort of a maintenance and taking advantage of the available data. We always want to be able to provide the most up-to-date, more efficient information and incorporate models and maps that have been done since the beginning of this project, and that specifically includes some LIDs 2, 7, 10, 11, and 17, and we work with them very closely to make sure that we're all on the same page because sometimes they have models or prediction tools that may not line up exactly with ours, so we work very closely with them to kind of like through an iterative process to get on the same page that we have the same information during those storms. We'll update the ISWIM models and ponding maps for the higher tailwater conditions, so this will give more accurate predictions as well. And then, of course, the biggest one in this update will be incorporating that Brazos River and the Oyster Creek mapping that's been done since the previous update. So we've been able to get that from the county and the Corps to be able to put that in the system. This enables us to predict like the LIDs gate status and provide overtopping levels for the levees, and that's significant so that they can kind of see when that's going to happen and just make better decisions on evacuation or stay in place, whatever may be appropriate at the time. And then finally, this stage includes also deploying these changes to a test site and then ultimately to the city server. Just to kind of go through a little bit more, I kind of touched on some of these benefits for the city of Sugar Land. It has a web-based public facing ponding map. We have a central location for all of our storm sewer models. And one of the significant benefits that applies not to just, engineers or citizens, it provides good prediction tools for the Office of Emergency Management, Public Works, and Engineering, so we can plan our flood response system, maybe stage different resources in different areas that we know, okay, well, that place doesn't flood, but we know this is going to flood with this type of event. So that's very critical for life-saving events that are needed. It also evaluates different drainage infrastructure improvements. So what we do from that is it identifies places where we need to focus some improvements on. If we see that, this area is flooding significantly compared to the other ones in the same storm, then it helps to form data-driven support for CIP projects or bond elections moving forward. We also use it to plan evacuation routes because we can see where that water is going to be and where it's not. And then we can also issue warnings on street ponding and road closures. So with that, those improvements, we're excited to be able to keep evolving and pivoting to provide the best, most accurate, up-to-date information for the community. And we request approval for the engineering department recommends City Council to authorize the execution of a professional services contract with Half Associates for the update of the integrated stormwater management model, Phase 4, in the amount of $149,790.
Thank you, Andrea. Questions? William?
I love watching the weather. I love this information, and I do believe most people in Sugar Land don't even know to go to this iSwim. It's fabulous. And so I just wanted to tell you, I love this data, and
Great.
anytime you can update it, I love it. Keep
Great.
it up.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Nishad?
The update that happens on the models, I know Lid 17 currently in Telfair is having some issues with some extra ponding when it rains. Will this help us determine what's causing that ponding when we have rain, or is that something different?
So it could be one resource that would go into helping them. Like I said, I know you're probably familiar. We have a liaison program that we have a staff member that attends all their meetings and works very closely with that engineer who's employed by the LID to help them. So yes, indirectly, yes, it will, because we'll be able to provide that information. We share information with them all the time.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Half was chosen through the RFQ process?
Yes, sir. They for this project, they're the ones who started the project, and that's how they were chosen initially. Yes, sir.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, please vote. Okay, 6-0. Thank you very much, Andrea. And please recall the mayor, if we have to.
This time we're going to move to item number 6, public hearing. 6A, public hearing, receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a proposed rezoning for a residential development located at 1527 Bernie Road.
Good evening. So this is a proposal for a residential property. This is towards the north side of town. So this is off of Bernie Road, just south of Ganaway Lake and north of Oyster Creek. So this is Oyster Creek here, where it runs along Bernie and then kind of cuts back through Imperial here. So it's right at that tip. This property is approximately 9 acres. It was annexed in 1990 and was originally zoned as R1Z for a 0 lot line development that never actually moved forward. So the property then sold, and the new owners are proposing to move forward with a R1E development. So that's the estate style. So this would be 2 larger residential style lots for 2 larger homes. In order to be able to move forward with development, the property needs to be platted, and it can't be platted until the zoning is correct. Right now, if they were to attempt to plat, they would have to build their property right up against Ganaway Lake, which is not the way we want development to happen here. So the proposed rezoning is required before we can move forward with that platting to make sure that the lot size minimums, setbacks, and all of that is going to be followed on that plat. Now, this proposed rezoning is not in conflict with the future land use map or with the comprehensive plan. So an aerial map here to give you just kind of an idea of what's around the area. This is primarily single family residential all around here, including the area down to the south, even though it's a little bit less dense. There is single family across Bernie, to the south across Oyster Creek, as well as Caddy Corner down in the Imperial area. There are some floodplain, floodway, and wetland regulations to work through with for developing this property specifically, but the applicant has already been in touch with our engineering department, has been working through those for the past 6 months or so. This is a future land use excerpt, so you can see that the proposed area, while it is proposed in the future for potential green space, it is not identified specifically as part of our parks master plan. This is, and again, our future land use plan, as you might have heard in the past, is not intended to be a regulatory document. It is not set as, it doesn't set zoning by parcel or anything like that. So the fact that this area is at the corner with a lot of other suburban residential areas is in line with the future land use plan. Public hearing requirements were all met for this rezoning. Mailer sent out and publication was in the paper. Staff has received no inquiries, and we are not aware of any opposition to that rezoning. Therefore, staff and the commission do recommend approval of ordinance 2296 to rezone the property.
Thank you, Laura. At this time, we're going to go ahead and hold questions. We're going to open the public hearing to anybody that would like to speak on this particular item. Second call on this particular item, public hearing. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We're going to move to first consideration. Consideration of an action on the City of Sugar Land, ordinance number 2296, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, providing for a change of zoning from zero lot line single-family residential R1Z district to residential estate R1E district for an approximately 9.1217 acre of land in the 0097 SM Williams tract, A, Lillian M. Lee Residential Reserve, also known as 1527 Bernie Road, Sugar Land, Texas. Council members, any question of Laura? Suzanne?
Thank you. Laura, just out of curiosity, on E, do we have any, how many lots can they put on E, or is it just one or two?
So for R1E, it's based on minimum acreage. So we have a minimum of 1.5 acres that is required for the R1E zoning. Technically, because this is 9 acres, that means you could fit about 6 lots on there. But the realities and the logistics of the site and the limitations because of the floodplain and floodway restricts development even further. That's why they're going to move forward with 2 residential lots and 1 landscape reserve to have only 2 lots there.
Okay, so that PD is going to kind of tie that up?
I'm sorry, what?
So the PD is going to kind of tie up how many lots there will be?
It's not a PD, it's just a
Oh,
standard.
that zoning will.
So it sets a minimum size requirement for lots. That's what this does.
All right, thank you. Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Watley. Do I have a second? Got a second by McCutcheon. Any other questions? Go ahead and vote this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 7, ordinances, resolutions. 7A, second consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2295. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, providing for a change of zoning for approximately 40 acres of land located along US 90, further described as 1.754 acres being all out of Reserve D Imperial Market, 19.154 acres being all of Reserve A Imperial Market, 0.470 acres being all of Reserve C Imperial Market, 9.334 acres out of a call 41.034 acre tract located in the SM Williams League abstract, number 97 in Fort Bend County, and 9.309 acres out of a call 12.916 acre tract located in the SM Williams League abstract number 97 in Fort Bend County from PD General Development Plan Imperial to PD Final Development Plan Imperial Market to PD Development Plan Imperial Historic District, amending the Imperial Regional Activity Center in Section 5 of Chapter 6 Land Use Plan of the City of Sugar Land Comprehensive Plan. We have with us tonight Lauren Fair, our Assistant Director of Planning and Development Services, and Devin Rodriguez, our Deputy Director of Economic Development. Lauren.
Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself as I did February 21st
Yes, sir.
for 7A and 7B.
Okay, thank you. I don't have a presentation, just wanted to, for the public, just remind everyone what we're having second consideration on this evening. So it's the ordinance for the general development plan. So this is the first step of many future steps of zoning approvals and zoning processes for this site, as well as included in the ordinance is the amendment for specific to the Imperial Regional Activity Center. And so that's what it's amending. Is just that Regional Activity Center is part of the land use plan. So just a reminder, and we're here for questions if needed.
Okay. Stuart?
Lauren, just, I'm going to ask the same question I asked last time. If we pass this, the developer can do nothing other than create a final development plan, completely specific down to the ligustrums and all that, which has to go through P and Z hearing, and then it has to come to council.
Right. So that's the next step, is to go through another public process.
Okay, thank you.
Motion approved. Motion by Zimmerman, second by Jacobson. Any other questions? Carol?
Thank you. I love Sugar Land, and I'm honored to represent the people of District 4 on City Council. And that being said, when I make a decision, I take the entire city into consideration. I think the Char House is a vital part of our heritage that should be preserved. At the same time, the land use plan that was developed by citizen input for 5 years is an important guiding document for Sugar Land's future.
Got a motion, I've got a second. If you vote at this time, please. I don't have anything on my screen. Hand vote. Aye. Against? Okay. And it passes 5-1. Item number B, first consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2284, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, amending the Ballpark District, Historic District 1 and 2, Business Park District, Open Space District, and Highway 6 District of the Imperial PD General Development Plan, readopting the Imperial PD General Development Plan, and repealing ordinance number 1969. Laura Waller, welcome back.
Good evening. Whoops, that's the wrong button. So this is an overview and a recap. So this has come before you for a public hearing in October of 2022. This is the amendment to the general development plan that currently exists over the parts of Imperial that has not moved forward with a final development plan, or as in the case of the historic district, another GDP. So this, again, is going to be primarily along this Highway 6 frontage. So it'll be tracks J and H for the most part. Or actually, that's all of it right there, are these two areas here along Highway 6. So the amendment was to allow for more commercial and retail uses, including department apparel stores, grocery stores, beauty and barber shops, repair shops, and other services, things like that. The current FDPs in the areas around this do allow for these uses. So the general development plan allowing these uses is in line with what the previously approved FDPs are allowing in the nearby vicinity. The general land plan is part of that general development plan, and it will also be amended as part of this ordinance. It's changing these track J and tracks H from a primary office use to a mix of uses. So that's going to be a mix of commercial uses in the general land plan. So that's different from the mix of residential and non-residential. This is still going to be all commercial. There is no residential proposed. It is just a mix of those commercial uses. The exhibits that changed include the text of the document, the general development plan, the general land plan, as you just saw in that picture, and then the list of permitted uses. The rest of the exhibits that were attached to the original 1969 ordinance are remaining unchanged and will be readopted with this ordinance. And again, as I previously mentioned, areas already rezoned to final development plan or rezoned to another general development plan will not be affected by these changes. So again, council held a public hearing on October 18th, and one speaker was present that was concerned about low density strip mall style development. So staff was directed to facilitate a meeting between the owner of the property, the developer, as well as some of the nearby residents, so we could come together to agree on the changes that are proposed. We did hold that meeting in December. Updates that came out of that included caps on the amount of square footage devoted to some of the more intense uses, such as grocery store and department stores, as well as the removal of some uses completely, such as a crematorium and a video rental store. So based on that, as well as the addition of a graphic that now describes, that eliminates the style of strip mall development for the lot layout, staff is comfortable moving forward with this presentation. So this is the additional graphic that is now added into that document. So this diagram and text basically eliminate the option of a street highway with a large parking field and then a retail rectangular strip building at the rear of it, which is what the concern of the residents was. They did not want this style of development. So with this update to that plan, the description of changes were posted in the Imperial Facebook group. There was no negative feedback, and so staff is moving forward again. There has been online comments available, opportunity to call in this entire time, but staff has not received any feedback since circulating these updates. Therefore, we do recommend that first reading and approval of Ordinance 2284. Thank you very much.
Questions? I've got one.
Yes, sir.
So we're moving from office to mixed use. And the reason for the office was, I mean, this property had been zoned office for as long as I can remember. Even when I was on the Planning and Zoning Commission, that was a long time ago. And there, you know, as I understand it, and it may be that the owner of the property has to address it, there has not been, nor do they foresee in the future, that there would be an office market to support that. Is that correct?
Correct. That is why they are moving forward with this change.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Watley. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by Ferguson. Votes this time, please. And we have a 6-0 vote. Thank you, council members. At this time, we're going to take a brief recess, and I will recuse myself from item 8A. Item 8 is the workshop, and Stuart will take over after a 10-minute recess on 8A so they can load the presentation.
1 minute until we reconvene. 1 minute until we reconvene. 1 minute. We're going to reconvene the meeting now. We're going to reconvene the meeting. Reconvening the meeting. Thank you very much. Item 8, workshop. A, review of and discussion on the 2022 Space Cowboys season and Constellation Field annual report. We have Tyler Stamm, General Manager, Constellation Field, Space Cowboys, and Devin Rodriguez, Deputy Director of Economic Development. Take it away.
Good evening. So we have been very busy the last couple of years, and so it's been a little bit of time since we've come and done an update, and we thought now was a great time to kind of overview all the hard work that's gone into this team and this stadium over the last couple of years. So Tyler Stamm, who's the General Manager of the Space Cowboys, and Thomas Bell, who is the VP of operations. Knew I was going to mess up on that. Is going to give us an overview of all the great things that have been going on with the Sugar Land Space Cowboys and Constellation Field. So I will hand it off to Thomas.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to present. Hopefully we can pull this off. We're doing half cyber, half me in person. I apologize that they didn't send somebody younger and better looking, but everybody is in West Palm Beach getting ready to defend the title. So that's where they should be. So I just would jump right in. In a move that felt a bit like destiny, the Sugar Land Skeeters franchise was officially acquired by the Houston Astros on April 20th, 21. And the Skeeters immediately became the new AAA affiliate of the Astros. The groundwork for this move began long before that day, however, as the Astros had a permanent presence at Constellation Field stemming back to mid-2020. Most of that presence was me every day getting ready to tear that ballpark up. With a shift in minor league baseball being absorbed by Major League Baseball, the Astros saw Sugar Land as an incredible opportunity to keep their top prospects close to home and run a AAA franchise in an amazing city. As part of the agreement to acquire the Skeeters, the Astros and the city of Sugar Land partnered on a lease extension, keeping the Skeeters at Constellation Field through at least the 2045 season. We did not commit to keep the name through 2045. As referenced on the last slide, I got to switch slides. That's a new one. As referenced on the slide previous, Constellation Field required extensive player-facing renovations prior to entering its first AAA season in 21. Using Major League Baseball's professional development license facility standards, which I call MLB PDL, as a guide, and backed with financial support from the city, the Astros immediately ensured that Constellation Field would enter the 21 season as one of the few fully compliant facilities in all of minor league baseball. Even 2 years later in 23, full facility compliance at the minor league level is rare. So this was an incredible benchmark to hit early on into our relationship with the city. Key ballpark improvements included a total overhaul of player spaces and clubhouses, brand new playing field and drainage systems, the additions of female locker rooms, player commissary spaces, a new weight room, climate-controlled batting cages, and improved fan seating in several areas. The 21 off-season project was a huge lift that spanned over a total of only 4 months from start to finish. With that, I would say that I would really like to thank the staff because it is an incredible group, and I've been doing this for a minute, and it is one of the most enjoyable experiences I had with the municipality. So your staff you should be proud of them. Sorry. And now we're going to try Tyler.
I'm here. I hope everybody can hear me. Thank you so much, Thomas, and to echo his comments as well, the city has been a huge part of everything we do. We will touch on that. But kind of wanted to hit on the rebrand. So in January of 22, the Sugar Land Skeeters rebranded to the Sugar Land Space Cowboys. The rebrand permanently tied our club to the Houston Astros. The Space Cowboys name unites two worlds that resonate within the greater Houston area, and that's our rugged Texas roots, along with our area's key tie to the NASA space program. Inspired by a shot of the horizon from Earth from space, our color palette and gradient feature light blue, navy, orange, gray, and black notes that are prominent in our logo and all of our uniforms. The color and space theme represent the ever-expanding Sugar Land community. It has grown so much in the 12 years that I have been here in this community. And it also speaks to an exciting new chapter that's on the horizon for the AAA franchise here at Constellation Field. Our primary logo that you see in the dead center there on our PowerPoint features our Space Cowboy. He's donning a cowboy hat and a bandana that's kind of reminiscent of our rugged Texas roots. And covering his face is a blast shield, which is peppered a little bit with space dust as a nod to space exploration. Our alternate logo, which has now become our mission patch that you see on the left there, intertwines the essence of the rigged Texas flag with a rocket that's ready to launch skyward, speaks to our growth moving forward. All three logos feature our signature starburst, which represents a constant look into the new frontier. And kind of talking about the response that we had initially, you know, I'm a transparent guy. Those of you that know me, it was a little crazy at first. The Skeeters, everyone was holding on to that. But over the course of the year, that totally disappeared. The response that we had in 2022 as a whole for the Space Cowboys brand was absolutely incredible. The Space Cowboys brand itself in 22 was a top-selling brand in all of minor league baseball, so really speaks to the incredible lift that Astros marketing helped us with in kind of revamping who we are now that we're in AAA. On this next slide, the second part of our rebrand, one of the things that we didn't do a great job of in that first decade of Skeeters baseball is we didn't really ever move in, right? We've always had a great ballpark. It's always been nice. It's always been clean. But one of the things that we really wanted to make sure we did immediately was move in as the Space Cowboys. So you see a number of those pictures here. We installed a number of different art pieces. There were additional signage went up all over the place. Everything that we did, even our concession stands, we renamed the Galactic Grill, right? A space tie. We renamed our playground the Kitty Corral, kind of a Western theme. We added a hitting simulator in one of our breezeways that we called Moonshot Alley. So everything that we do now, even moving forward, is tied into our brand. We want to make sure that when you come into that ballpark, there is no question who plays there. And when you walk in now, you know that it is the Space Cowboys. Thomas, back to you for 2022. Rinos.
Thank you, Tyler. The off-season leading into the 22 season was far and away our busiest in franchise history. Rebranding the club from top to bottom was a huge lift by itself. But during the 21 off-season renovations, we immediately recognized and identified many key improvements that we'd addressed prior to the 22 season. In 22, our renovations were entirely focused on the fan experience. Key highlights included, first, the complete renovation of our Regents Bank Club and Suites. When the ballpark was originally built, it was clearly built for roughly 70 events a year, which might have made sense at the time, but our facility quickly became a year-round event venue. Case in point, 10 years of activity led to some outdated and somewhat roughed up club space, and we wanted to make sure that we were providing premium amenities for our guests. Second, a complete renovation of our playground space, as Tyler mentioned, now called the Kitty Corral, brand new soft and permanent flooring to replace the mulch, which parents hated, a full overhaul of all the equipment, highlighted by the rocket ship in center field, which if you watch our streams is an amazing accent piece for our brand. Really, really cool, especially when somebody hits a ball out there. Third, we built out the Moonshot Alley, which is a virtual reality batting cage that is free for fans to try. And if you haven't gotten swings to try to hit a dinger in any of the parks in any major league city, come on out and we'll set that up for you. It's a blast. Finally, the last fan amenity was to try to increase the theme of making more shade areas for our fans. And we added the Carback Cantina in left field, which also allowed us to serve food and beverage in an area that was a basketball court previously, which basketball is great. We love sports, but we're baseball. Back to Tyler.
Yeah, the city of Sugar Land's support of the Space Cowboys and previously the Skeeters has been unwavering since the moment that a shovel was put in the ground here on our site here at Constellation Field. From countless city employee outings over the years to the extraordinary assistance we received during the launch of our Constellation Energy League in 2020, which was insane, but the city was right there by our side the entire time. It's been incredible. And nothing changed here in 22. The support was equally incredible. And even during the 2021 off season, all city employees, I think it was like for a month, changed their email signatures to AAA messaging to celebrate the Astros acquisition. So the city has always been dedicated and there for us, which is much appreciated and much needed. In 2022, unsurprisingly, the city went above and beyond the call of duty in 22 to celebrate our new brand. One of the two big features seen here are the mural over on First Colony Mall. It's a giant mural done by Donkey Boy. It looks great. They also reprinted a fire truck in Space Cowboys messaging, which was really cool to see. We obviously can't do what we do without the city's help and guidance and all the stuff that goes into that. So thank you all for everything you do for us. Now for baseball. Last year, we could sum up last year's season in one word: development. While the results didn't show up in the win column as much as we'd like last year, the Space Cowboys roster was absolutely chock full of young baseball talent, very likely to be on the Houston Astros Major League roster for years to come. Notable prospects such as Hunter Brown, David Hensley, spent most of the season with us in Sugar Land, and then were called up and went on to have huge impacts in the Astros World Series run. Other prospects like Corey Lee, Forrest Whitley, Pedro Leon, Justin Dearden called Sugar Land their home for the majority of last season, but they're likely to see some time with the Astros at the big league level this upcoming year. Something that's notable and something that's been impressive over these first couple years in AAA is even last year, of the 45 total players that suited up in an Astros game last year, 25 of them also suited up in a Space Cowboys game last year. So that connection between Sugar Land and Houston has been immense very quickly. The baseball highlights from last season, honestly, my favorite part of 22 was it felt like our new normal in general. For the first time in 3 years, we felt little to no impact of the ongoing pandemic. And many faces that we hadn't seen at the park in a while were finally comfortable enough to return. With that, we were able to welcome in our 3 millionth baseball fan through the gates this past season, which was awesome. That kid was super excited. We were also fortunate enough to be visited by Kate Flannery, who played Meredith in the hit TV series The Office. We were also visited by WWE legend Booker T, and Astros legend Jeff Bagwell during various games this past summer. In 2022, we saw another rehab stint from Lance McCullers Jr., who has become, unfortunately, a Sugar Land regular. We want him to be up in Houston, which obviously continued to drive major attendance spikes during his appearances. And strangely enough, the Round Rock Express were in town on the 2 nights when Lance McCullers was making his rehab starts. And we were lucky enough to have his former teammate and previous Cy Young winner Dallas Keuchel face off against him in the same 2 games. So the odds of that high caliber of a matchup happening even one time at the AAA level is microscopically low. But it happened twice for us in 1 week. And it was honestly one of the most fun weeks in my 11 years here with the team. On the community side, similarly to the previous topics, 2022 saw a true return of our community efforts in full force since the start of the pandemic. Our organization thrives on being out in the community and giving back, so the previous 2 years have felt pretty sparse at best. Our reading program is a big program for us in the community department, and we were able to reach over 35,000 students last year in person at 55 schools. To give you perspective on how that's growing, here in 23 so far, we've already reached 70,000 students by visiting over 100 schools here locally. So everything is really starting to kind of get back to normal. Our 50-50 raffle program that takes place during each of our home games has generated roughly $50,000 each of the past 2 years. And the Astros Foundation has worked with us here in the Space Cowboys side to donate that money back into the Sugar Land and Fort Bend communities. Specific focuses on childhood cancer, veterans, women's health, autism awareness, and homelessness for the past couple of years. We also began to build diversity, inclusion, and equality-based outreach nights last year. Some examples of those nights include autism awareness, Hispanic Heritage Night, Pride Night, Black Heritage Night, Deaf and Hard of Hearing Awareness Night, things along those lines that will continue to grow and build as we go on. And youth baseball was back in full force. We had over 700 kids out here that got to participate in camps throughout the summer that were held by our Space Cowboys coaches and players. On the special events side, I'm getting so repetitive, and I'm so sorry, but we saw a major return in our special events this past year for the first time since the start of the pandemic, which is great. We're officially back to a full year-round event venue. We had high school baseball all last year, college baseball, corporate meetings again, weddings, cultural festivals, concerts, and more. Last year alone, we estimated there was an event at the ballpark in some capacity about 250 days of the calendar year. We heavily also reinvested into our staple event, Sugar Land Holiday Lights, by adding to its our displays. Spent about $250,000 to kind of spruce that show back up. 2023 is going to be Holiday Lights' 10th anniversary, which is incredible to think about, but it was time to kind of start refreshing things, so we'll continue to reinvest in our special events. And this month that we're in right now is probably the most exciting special events time that we've had in franchise history, but we'll talk about that here in a second. On the club growth side, since our inception in 2012, we've always been considered a successful baseball club. We were highly regarded within the independent baseball ranks for years, and that speaks in part to a reason why the Astros found Sugar Land as an attractive location for their AAA franchise. Since the Astros acquisition in 2021, the club has experienced tremendous growth in a number of different areas. I've got 4 of them. One of them, obviously the key one that a lot of people see, and it's a very vocal number, I guess, is in-park attendance. When compared to our final season in the Atlantic League in 2019, our in-park attendance immediately increased in our first AAA season by 15% year over year, obviously taking out that COVID year in 2020. In 2022, our in-park attendance grew again by 12%. So all in all, when you take 2022 compared to 2019, our in-park attendance is up 31% since we have become a AAA franchise. The other area of growth is staffing levels. Our full-time staff is now back to the levels that we were pre-pandemic, and we have plans to continue to grow that full-time staff over a number of years. Since the Astros have come in, our full-time headcount has grown over 60%. Merchandise, in our first year in AAA, our merchandise revenues immediately tripled, which was really cool to see and unexpected. Then after our rebrand in 2022, we tripled our 2021 numbers. So merchandise is doing extremely well, and again, it's a nationwide top-selling brand at this point. In earned media, the annual mentions of Sugar Land's Constellation Field asset in local markets and national markets has more than doubled on an annual basis since we were acquired by the Astros. And now we have this year, where we're at. We're to today. So planning for our 23 season has gone all the way back to August. So we've been planning on 23 for a while, and we're very excited. That's going to be our 12th opening day in franchise history, coming up here on Tuesday, April 4th. We can't wait to see you guys out there. But before our season officially kicks off, we were lucky enough to be chosen as a host location for the Savannah Bananas. They're going to bring their world tour here to Sugar Land, and they're actually in town next week. So we're here at the ballpark, busy prepping and getting ready basically for our first opening day here next Thursday. We'll have over 22,000 people here through our gates for their 3 sold-out games. We haven't received anything from the Bananas yet on the tourism front, but they do see a regular tourist attraction, right, for them. So we should see people, a lot of people from out of town coming to see the Bananas here right in Sugar Land. 9 days after that, and after they've left town, we've got the World Series champion Houston Astros coming in to take on the hometown Space Cowboys in an exhibition game at Constellation Field. The next day, we will go play at Minute Maid against the Astros at their home field in another exhibition game. And a good note is this year's exhibition series is presented by our very own local Visit Sugar Land group. So we're excited to shine our spotlight on our city in a big way during those 2 games. And we can't wait to see everybody out at the ballpark this year. So see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thomas and Tyler, we want to tell you, it's not just the staff that appreciates the investment that you've made in the city, but everyone here on City Council is greatly appreciative too of the efforts that you've done and the change, the positive change you made on our city. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, let's bring back the mayor.
Move on now to item number 8B, review of and discussion on the Police Department 2022 annual report. We've got Chief Mark Poland, and he's got half the police department here. So why don't you? I see where this is going. We got half the fire department on the other side. So.
Thank you, sir. I'll try to be quick in the interest of everyone's time because I know my firefighter friends probably got something in their kitchen they got to get back to and tend to.
It's going to get ugly now.
And
go ahead, Chief.
Yes, sir.
You're first up. So.
Yes, sir. Before I get started, sir, I do want to take a moment and recognize some folks here. Although I am presenting this report, it is our team. It's our team's report. All 200 people. Sworn and civilian staff, we would not be where we are today if it was not for all 200. And I thank everybody for being here. It's all 200 of us.
I've never felt so safe in a council meeting. I've got firefighters. I've got police officers. I mean, we can handle anything that goes on right now.
Well, I'll let you know how I feel after I finish this tonight with all these folks behind me. I do want to take a moment to introduce one young man, one up-and-coming rising star who worked tremendously hard on this, and that is our crime analyst, Ryan Kriakros. If you would just stand up. So, Ryan is a crime analyst, and believe me, I sent this back and forth with him so many times, but he worked tremendously to put the data together, get it right for you guys, so you can get a good framework, a good picture of what happened in 2022, and I'm going to do my best to present to you moving forward what we're going to do as a police department, what we're going to do as a team. The next group I do want to introduce to you real quick, if they are here, with your permission, sir,
yes,
our
sir.
new K-9
Please.
officers, if that's okay. So. I would remind folks in the audience.
Danny's looking for them. Where'd they go?
I would remind folks these are working dogs. These are not
these are not
pets. These
pets.
are working dogs. So coming down to my right, to your left, is Officer Barbrick and his partner Marcel. And Barbrick, I'm going to embarrass you, but you were Officer of the Year, so congratulations. And coming down here to my left, to your right, is Officer Rickerson with Flocks. I will share that.
Well, they're beautiful.
I do want to share, so coming from an agency, we had a very robust K-9 program in my old agency, 12 plus dogs, constantly rotation a lot, and I was very proud of that. But I can tell you what I've seen coming here to this department, and Sergeant Shockey, if you'd come up here, please, come on. He doesn't want to. Come on. The work that Sergeant Shockey and these two officers put in to getting this program up and running, I'd put this team up against anybody. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that because I'm here and speaking in front of y'all. I come from a large department that had a lot of dogs, but I can tell you the work that they're doing and the services that they're providing to the citizens here today are phenomenal. So congratulations, guys.
Congratulations, guys. They're beautiful. Look at that.
Okay. Moving forward. All right. Crime rates. So unfortunately for 2022, our crime rate did go up from 13.1 crimes per 1,000 residents to over 16 per 1,000 residents. And that is measured through NIBRS, through the FBI crime rate. I'll get into that here in a second, but those crimes are per 1,000 people, and I will get into why that jumped up and then our response and what we're going to do working towards that. Interestingly enough, we did, and unfortunately, it's anecdotally and contextually, I can speak on the conversations I've had with surrounding chiefs and surrounding sheriffs are experiencing similar trends, similar patterns. However, when we did reach out, I did want surrounding jurisdictions' crime rates. They were reluctant to provide that to me. Okay, thefts. As some of you may have heard me reference in a couple of the other ceremonies we just had, our graduation promotional ceremonies, thefts. That's the driving factor for that crime rate going up to 16.3 per 1,000 people. Thefts alone saw a 22.6% increase. Shoplifting, motor vehicle parts. Most of you are aware of the motor vehicle parts, catalytic converters. They're hot topics. They're going. And then burglary from motor vehicles, more commonly referred to in the department as BMVs, are extremely prevalent as well. You know, these folks behind me, there were officers last night that did disrupt just last night, individuals on the street conducting BMVs. A very proactive police work from an officer last night, spotted a suspicious person on the street, all black clothing, wearing a mask. So we disrupted that. I'll get into the disruption piece here in a minute as well. So as I spoke, the National Incident-Based Reporting System, this is an FBI crime tracking system that we do participate in. I would draw a note to the totals at the bottom, and I would say those slight increases from 2019 to 2022, that is, in my opinion, very consistent with the population growth that the city has experienced as well. I would also remind folks that there's an extremely busy highway running right through the middle of our city that's responsible for some of these crimes as well, too. Not that we're not prepared to take a posture on that, and we are, and I'll get into that shortly. But that daytime population is, if we can figure that out, you know, and the levels that that's getting to, that's also going to contribute to some of these issues. You know, I fully support, and I'm working hand in hand with EchoDev partners and planning, preparing for the events coming to the city. I'm a huge supporter of that, but we do have to take a response from the PD side and a posture to that as well. But I can assure you, the directors, assistant directors with Department of Innovation, EchoDev, we are working hand in hand, and it's a great partnership. Continuing with NIBRS, and I'm going to go through these somewhat quick, and I apologize for that just in the interest of time. Again, I'm going to take note of the thefts, the increase in residential burglaries, the increase in motor vehicle thefts, forgeries, embezzlements, theft from motor vehicles. All those are contributing factors to the total increase from 13.1 to 16.3%, or per 1,000, I should say. As I said, theft from motor vehicles, BMVs, 26% increase in BMVs. That's a pretty good jump. We've had over 49 juggings in 2022 as well. Is anyone not familiar with the jugging? I can explain that later, but we did see 49 juggings in 2022 as well. Auto thefts. Auto thefts went up 28%. And what's highlighted here in the graph is what most people do think of as traditional auto theft. Someone's coming in, your car's parked at night, they're either stealing the key fobs from the garage, they're breaking into your car, stealing the car itself. I will say it is not for a lack of response to these crimes. For example, Detective Michael Rosario worked a tremendous case this past year on auto thefts, and this is how quick these happen. A vehicle stolen 2 days later, this detective is tracking this vehicle to Houston to what appears to be an auto body shop, and it's multiple buildings. And as he's working his way through the buildings with Houston PD, he uncovers a legitimate chop shop at the very end. And the only thing that's left of this truck that was stolen was the tailgate. So it's not for a lack and charges. You know, the work that Detective Rosario did in that case uncovered a very large chop shop with these auto thefts. They happen quick. But we are working hard. The detectives are doing tremendous work on this. As you see, the most popular vehicle that's stolen are Chevrolet trucks. Burglaries. We did see a downward trend in commercial burglaries. However, we did see an uprise in residential burglaries. They also, our crime analysts are telling me, and CID is telling me, that with these residential burglaries, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have multiple suspects breaking into all these locations. Many times with these property crimes, it's one group of people committing all the same crimes, and they are disrupting those as well. Aggravated assaults. They contributed to the overall increase as well. And you see, bottom line, 38%. That's a pretty good increase from 2021 to 2022 with aggravated assaults. What the crime analysts are telling me also, a big majority of these are road rage type incidents that are occurring. And I attribute that back to the major highways that are going through our city, that we're very proactive with patrolling that. I know you've seen that, but the other piece to that, and I'll get into this too, we're trying to educate citizens on what to do if they find themselves in that situation. And I'll touch on that here shortly. Good news here. Even though the crime rate is going up, so is our clearance rate. And that's a tribute to the work that these folks behind me are doing. Property crimes to go from 13.4% clearance rate to 16% clearance rate. In my opinion, in 26-year careers, I have property crimes are some of the hardest crimes to solve. There's hardly a trail at times to follow these, but it went up to 16%. Violent crime rate jumped clearance rate up to 54%. And when I say clearance rate, that means there was either an arrest made in the case, or the victim refuses prosecution, the district attorney office refuses to prosecute the case, or the death of the offender. So one of those three factors have to come into play to, quote, clear a crime. So for those numbers, I put those numbers up against anyone. And again, that's a tribute to the hard work that's taken place at all levels, all 200 people. For example, just this year alone, we did have one homicide. You know, Detective Todd Cox worked on that tremendously, made an arrest in that case right away. We had the shooting at the local food mart with a young juvenile male that went in and returned and shot a couple times at this place. Detective Gamble worked relentlessly on that case to bring that to closure, to bring that to an arrest. We had, as I mentioned in one of the last ceremonies, one of our CSI technicians, Holly, lifted a single print off of a bank robber's note that was used in a robbery of a bank. That print alone led to police in Victoria and Austin jurisdictions solving up to 8 other bank robberies. Taking that time, that tedious work from those employees. Again, this is one team combating crime here, one team. We're all working together. And then with the social media piece, I'll get into that as well with the bank robbery, but that we are trying to enhance the social media. I've been telling these folks, you know, we're going to walk our way into the pool. We're not going to jump into the deep end with what we're putting out on social media. I do want to share the hard work that's taken place from the folks internally. I believe that social media is a great way to be transparent in what we do, but it's not going to, for the public, I'm not looking to create legitimacy through social media. We're going to earn that with the public, with the hard work we're doing. So the social media piece is for transparency. Calls for service, 2022, there was a decrease in actual calls for service, went from 74,000 calls down to almost 71,000 calls for service. And the locations that you see in the chart there, that's the top locations for most of our incidents. And what I would say, it's not necessarily the hospital or the Walmart, but it's these parking lots. It's large parking lots where these offenses are occurring and where most of these thefts are occurring. So that's those locations there. Response time. We do have a performance measure within the department that for priority calls for service, in progress calls for service, that as an agency, we will respond to those calls in under 7 minutes. Now that does include 1 minute for dispatch and then 6 minutes for response. That's 80% of the time is our performance measure. We reached that in 2022 with 84%. That's tremendous work. That's very good work between police dispatchers. You know, they work very hard in there, and we got a great partnership with the dispatchers as well. So we're on the mark there. All right. I do want to touch on traffic a little bit. That does come up a lot, and I do get asked sometimes, why traffic? Why the big deal with traffic? Well, in 2022, the department conducted just short of 23,000 traffic stops. They did 22,931 traffic stops. The reason I'll touch on traffic stops so much, it's the visibility, it's the interdiction, it's the road safety, the educating the public on how to be safe on the roads, the proactive work. And most importantly, shows the citizens, we're out here working for you. And it also shows the criminals, we're out here. So it's twofold. Some information on the arrest and charges resulting out of traffic stops. One thing that caught my attention for 2022, it appears that about 70% of most of these stops folks get warnings. So just saying, 30% of the time they're getting citations. I think I would attribute that to professionalism as well, and the educational piece and the relationship that our officers have with the citizens here in the city. I like this one, and I definitely want to share this because this absolutely affirms the professionalism that the men and women have in this department when they're conducting these traffic stops. When you think about just short of 23,000 interactions with the public for those traffic stops, only 2 times did they have to use force. 2 times. Traffic stops are dangerous, one of the most dangerous situations that these folks can be in. And they're committed to keeping our roads safe. They're committed to taking those traffic stops one step further and trying to suppress crime, reduce crime, interdict, looking for other crimes. Only 2 times did they have to use force. Again, that is the professionalism, the training that these guys and gals behind me have and that are bringing to our citizens here. I do like to touch on search statistics resulting out of traffic stops too. Less than 2% of these stops yielded a search. I have a feeling these numbers are going to change when I'm up here next year reporting for 2023 as well, and I'll get into that with you here shortly. And primarily, the biggest form of contraband that was found out of these searches, as you can see, almost 70% was narcotics. Okay, moving forward. Our response to this increase in crime, our response to the thefts, what we're going to do. And what I put up here, it may seem very simple, but the crime triangle. You can't have a crime without the victim, the target, the offender, and then opportunity. Our role, it sounds very simple, but it's to disrupt one of those sides of that triangle. It's not easy, but that's our role, is to disrupt one of those pieces, whether we're educating the victims, we're hardening targets, we're working with partnerships within our community to protect the target, educating the criminals as well, changing that desire and then opportunity. One thing that, in my perspective, being here for 5 months, coming from an outside agency, I'm looking at the city of Sugar Land with the quality of life that we have here, the highly educated people that we have here, the businesses that we have here, the growth that we have here. Quite honestly, my opinion, folks see Sugar Land as an opportunity. Criminals see Sugar Land as an opportunity for theft. That's why I want to take this posture when I'm getting into of our stance and keeping Sugar Land as safe as it is. And as much as we love living here and raising our families here, that's our goal, that's my job, and that's my commitment to the citizens to do that. How we're doing it. One thing I wanted to share, so I do talk about traffic stops here, self-initiated traffic stops. Again, this goes back to a high visibility. Criminals need to see we're working the street. Criminals need to see we're out here trying to keep people safe. Just in January and February of this year, the guys and gals behind me have done have conducted 7,846 traffic stops already to this day, compared to 23,000 last year. They are working tremendously hard for us, for all of us, to keep us safe. Out of those stops, they've removed almost 40 guns. And I presented that in another format, and I had someone kind of chuckle and say, well, everybody, guns, what's the big deal? Those are criminals with guns. Those are 40 less criminals that don't have their weapon now. One of our officers, Officer McCoy, just got into a incident involving a carjacking, and these criminals are taking every step they can. They're trying to pit our officer off the street to wreck us from catching them. It's a dangerous job what we're doing, but they're committed to serving, and they're doing it tremendously. So it's solid police work is what I'm getting at. The interdiction piece. I do want to share real quick, so I did want to put this picture of the candy up there as well. That's not candy. It's THC infused candy. And I know we took a bit of a hit on social media when we posted this. I look at this and I see a tremendous interdiction stop where our young officer, Celeste Lohman, conducted a traffic stop and took these drugs away from someone that was going to give these drugs or sell these drugs to children. Now, why I say this is so important, they contain THC, the chemical within marijuana that creates the high. Unfortunately, what many people think of with the THC content from the 70s and 80s, one marijuana cigarette may have had 8, 9, 10% THC. Liquid THC, wax THC, which is found in these elements, are as high as 70, 80, 85% THC. So I would argue it's not funny. It's not a joke. We don't know what those levels of THC will do to young kids when they ingest that. I certainly don't want my children to experience that, nor anyone's in this audience. So the work that's taking place by these officers, these detectives, is unbelievable. And I would say I'm shocked that I got detectives here today that are wearing uniforms. I don't know how we did that, but they're wearing uniforms. Very impressed. Going forward, and I'll try to hurry up here. I apologize if I'm dragging on. We did create a task force with Houston Police Department to address the juggings. That are occurring, very dangerous crimes that are taken. This is a proactive response that we're working with our partners in HPD. On the first day of this joint effort, we made an arrest. There's been 13 juggings so far this year. We've made 4 arrests already, working very proactively to combat these juggings. We're not going to stop. As I mentioned before to some of you, I'm not going to look in the rearview mirror. I'm looking out the windshield, and that's where we're taking our agency and how we're going to protect the citizens here and where we live. Partnerships I've brought up as well. partnerships internally within the city. Again, I bring up Department of Innovation, Economic Development, Public Works. The relationships that we have with other directors and assistant directors is phenomenal. Working with Department of Innovation to create and enhance our social media, to create a Sugar Land Police Department app that we can put on a cell phone that can be bifurcated, the external for citizens to use and then internally for officers to use and have immediate access to certain things, and I'll touch on that here shortly. Let's see. Okay, priorities for me. You heard me touch on Project Lifesaver. That is near and dear to my heart, and that is something that the cost is not tremendous. But I truly believe that that is a service that our police department can provide to families here in Sugar Land that have loved ones that are dealing with dementia, Alzheimer's, and they're walking away and they're wandering off. I know we can be successful in returning those folks to their families. Our average time in my old department was just under 30 minutes. And once we put that payload, that antenna, onto a drone, we almost cut that in half, that time in half. But that's getting that loved one out of the elements. Back home, it was out of the freezing weather and the sleet and things of that nature. Here, it'll be the exact opposite, but it's critical we get those folks home. Leveraging technology. I'm a firm believer in promoting what I say, boots on the ground police work, the traffic stops, the interdiction, the detectives canvassing the area, crime analysis, doing everything, civilian staff in the support roles. But I'm also a firm believer in leveraging technology to make our jobs more efficient, and can we serve the citizens better? Something as simple as getting our officers and patrol cell phones they can increase the speed and the efficiency of conducting a traffic stop, meaning they can issue tickets via cell phone. We can put the Project Lifesaver apps on these cell phones. Right now, patrol officers are taking pictures on their personal phones, evidence, and phones are getting subpoenaed to court on their personal phone. So that's not something that I should ever ask one of my officers to do, is that their personal phone be subpoenaed to court. With a city cell phone for patrol, they can use that city-owned phone, take those evidence pictures, immediately up those into our evidence.com, that's what's here, and that process, that chain of custody is immediate. Same with the Sandra Bland reporting, which is mandatory reporting through the state. They can do that via cell phone, very quick, very efficient. Right now, they have to come back and do different methods of working on that. Active violence training. Some of you may have heard me speak on this before. Again, a priority for me, a training for me. I want our agency, I want our guys and gals in the department to receive the best possible training that we can to respond to an active shooter event, period. I'm working with the School Safety and Security Committee. I became a member of that board for the schools, working with Chief Ryder, trying to promote different concepts, different levels of training, working with the fire department as well, our friends in the fire department. We recently trained 6 officers to be trainers for active shooter training. I want to re-energize that in the department. That is a priority for me, just as mental health training and crisis intervention training is, de-escalation. The amount of time that our officers are spending on the street now helping and serving citizens that are dealing with mental health crisis, it's phenomenal. And we're tracking those by the hours that it takes to serve these, and it's needed. Many times there are no crimes involved, but there's no one else there to help, and that's falling on the police department to do that. And we're doing it, and we're successfully doing it. But it's also taking away from other law enforcement functions while we do that. So making sure that all of our folks are trained in mental health, making sure our folks are trained in de-escalation. But I'm also looking forward to create this mental health team to try to look at repeat clients, folks that are call frequently, and how can we help? Maybe we can find a root problem and a root cause to what's going on. So another priority for me. And then, of course, recruiting and hiring, and I am still happy to say that we are fully staffed. We're over with the permission from, or the granting of the overhiring from the city council and the mayor. We're going to keep our foot on the gas with that. And then, of course, high visual presence, online reporting, the use of technology, creating these partnerships. I do want to look towards opening up positions in the department to form or to be part of federal task force positions as well. I'm a firm believer in that. And again, our last homicide, I watched our detectives, I watched our patrol work tremendously to solve that case, and then we hand that fugitive over to a task force. I want to be part of that task force. We're going to go get our bad guy. We're going to do that work. We're going to serve the citizens here in Sugar Land as we should. The ATF has a task force that focuses on guns, and when Chief Davis already reached out and spoke with the ATF task force on that and shared the numbers that our guys and gals, the numbers of weapons that they're getting off the street, their eyes lit up. So I know they're interested in having us on there because we're doing good police work. We're going to help them. They need us more than we need them right now, but I want to form that partnership. And then the FBI Safe Streets also focuses and looks at human trafficking, looks at narcotics and guns. So I want to look at partnerships in general to just better serve the citizens here. So to close, when I came into office, I did my best to try to meet with all 200 folks as well as I could. I had 6 pillars that I talk of frequently. They're really my values, but I wanted to share those values and their priorities with me: family first, professionalism, leadership, accountability, growth, and communication. That's my core values in law enforcement. What I'm sharing and why I'm sharing the mission statement and the vision statement here, this is our team's mission statement and vision statement. I did not just go and sit behind my desk and type these up. I wanted input from the sergeants to work on the new mission statement, and they came up with ideas, and they knew my priorities, but they came up with a lot of ideas, and then command staff, we tweaked on that and worked on it a little bit. And then the vision statement, we did the same thing with lieutenants and captains. It's our team's mission, our team's vision moving forward and how we're going to address this. And I think that's it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I apologize if I went very fast there.
Question, Jennifer?
Thank you, Chief. Curious to know, what is the process for the team for them to decompress or to talk about instances that may have happened, their own mental wellness? What is your plan for that, or what are we doing currently so that they have time to do that?
Sure. No, absolutely. It's a great question. And critical, because the things that they see are not normal for folks to see and to deal with. We have a very strong peer support program, and we have a very strong chaplain program as well. We're trying to, or I'm not saying we're trying, the chaplain program, they're expanding. They're bringing additional resources, additional mental health resources in for the immediacy piece of it right after a scene, just to make sure, are folks okay? Do they, what do they need? Do they need help? I want to look moving forward as well to, I know the jurisdiction I came from, there were a couple nonprofit agencies that we leaned on tremendously for support that specialized with military and or law enforcement. And I'd like to look here in our community as well for those resources. So I think with the CIT de-escalation, that also teaches you de-escalation methods, practices, nutrition, health, allowing folks to work out on duty is critical as well. So it's absolutely a priority of mine.
Follow.
Yes, because that's one of the initiatives that we're working on in the county with our first responders is, police officers are expected to be tough, to be out there, not show feelings, and be able to deal with things. They get off the shift and then they go home. Mm-hmm. Whereas first responders, fire department, they go to the firehouse and have an opportunity to maybe discuss, what happened at an event. So realizing the differences in that, and we've been looking at data with suicide rates of people involved, working on the front lines. And we want to make sure that, our first responders have access to the supports that they need. They're able to get their message through their mid-level supervisors of, what's going on, and have everything that they need to be successful.
I agree 100%, and I would fall back also on my first value of family. And when I bring that up, I'm sincere, and I mean that. And when I spoke with everyone in the agency, we can't do well at our jobs. The job is stressful enough. It is dangerous enough. You have to keep your head on a swivel. As you said, you're expected to see and do things that most folks just shouldn't do in their lives. If you don't have that strong family ground, whatever your family, all families are different, but without that strong foundation at home, it's even harder to come in to do that job here. So putting family first is a priority of mine, and that's a start. It is a start for me with our staff. And they know that. They know I'm going to put family first. They know I expect them to put family first so they can be as whole as they can coming into the job. That's just one other little spoke of the wheel.
Carol.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, Chief, I'm so grateful to have you as our police chief.
Thank you.
And I'm so proud of each and every one of you who are in our police department. And I appreciate everything that you do to keep us safe. And I'm so glad to have K-9 officers. And congratulations on your impressive clearance rates and response times.
Thank you.
Nishad.
Chief, I know you and I were texting a couple of weekends ago, but you got your staff here, and you remember what we were texting about that weekend?
Yes, sir.
Everywhere I went that weekend, it felt like a cop car was following me, or I saw a cop car. And I'm like, Chief, what's going on here? And I sent him pictures at different corners, and it's just impressive to see that you all are truly doing what our new chief has set out to do. And I was very, very impressed, and it just made me feel safe. I wasn't doing anything wrong. It made me feel safe as well. So I want to thank the entire department for continuing to do what you do, boots on the streets.
Thank you.
And Mayor, if I can add one more thing, there was an item hidden in the consent agenda that a $5,000 donation was given for our 2 K-9 officers to get their protective vest.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank the owners of Japaneros, Jupiter, and Guru Burgers for donating those $5,000. I don't know the 2 gentlemen's names, but they own these 3 restaurants, and we need those more individuals like that. So I wanted to personally make sure I thank them.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, officers. Everybody. Chief, you gonna stick around for Boker? Item number C, review of and discussion on the Fire EMS Department fiscal year 2022 annual report. Chief Boker. Uh-oh, Chief, you're leaving.
No, you're fine.
That doesn't mean that you're not important.
The profit margin of all the Sugar Land restaurants went up for the last 2 hours when the cops weren't mooching free food off of them. Hey, before Chief Poland leaves, well, he's sticking around, but before these guys leave, I just want to say congratulations to the city council and to this community for hiring a winner in Chief Poland.
As much as we tease you guys really are close, all of you.
And it's so good to see our police department, like a lot of the same faces, but to see them being cops again. It's really good, and congratulations to them. So with that, the city renewed its policy on display standards for council. So imagine my surprise as we were a month into this presentation with a non-compliant presentation. So if it fails, I am solely responsible. If it works out well, we appreciate City Secretary's help. With that, we want to take a bit of liberty tonight. We want to be transparent to the public for the investment, for the trust that the public has put in us, and the investment this council and the city has put in, and the investment that our crews put into the daily service to our community. We're creating an outward-facing dashboard with tonight's presentation, and so we're actually going to stray from PowerPoint. We're going to go to another website, and then we will overlay tonight's narrative over that presentation that's on this third-party website, and that will become our dashboard to the community, along with our book of business that we've shared with council tonight. It's just one more way that we want to be transparent with the public, how we spend their money and what we think is important. I would like to take just a brief minute to recognize a few of the people that came with us. Mark Campisi, the Assistant Chief of Operations. James Serrano is our Fire Marshal. Elizabeth Mangum, our Assistant Director of Administration. Tracy Sue, Rachel Salazar, Isabel Hernandez, Peyton Giacomo. I just learned that name today. He's brand new and just joined us. We're very glad to have him. And Peace Joseph, that makes up our administrative team, and they've moved up here in front with us. Kevin Leverance, Chief Leverance, Scott Bowerman, and then from Shift we have Chief Vance and Captain Martin. Gene De Los Santos is riding up as an OIC on Ladder 4 today. Casey Krennick is the driver. Andrew Dees is the firefighter. Fernando De Leon and Emilio Rodriguez are on Medic 4. And then Lieutenant Hannah, Kelly Catano, and Christina Cruz on Engine 7. I want to thank them for joining us this evening. And about now, I'm hoping Jake does something magical and moves from this screen to a different screen. There we go. And then I'm hoping he does something magical and makes it change again. So this is a PowerPoint slide. And we've used growth when you approved our expansion of workforce last September. For October 1st, it went effective, and we've been branding growth for our fire department. It's not just growth in numbers, but it's growth in us as people, us as a department, us in our skill levels. And so we decided that was a good word to keep moving with. And so we'll move on to our website, hopefully. Again, I'm solely responsible if this does not work. And it worked, so like fire wins. All right, we're going to go into presentation mode. So we've used a Prezi product here, and again, we're going to overlay tonight's audio onto this so that the average citizen can go into the fire website and actually navigate in real time their annual report. And so to get started, we're going to move right into data, and we became data-driven a number of years ago under Chief Adame, and we just continue to keep working in that direction.
You get what you inspect. Sugar Land leadership uses data in a multitude of ways to increase our efficacy of operations and ensure goals are being achieved. The team consistently looks for new measures to allow for better leadership decisions, provide detailed information to our constituents, and help build the department output picture for our policymakers. Using a host of software and application-based products such as GIS and Power BI, Sugar Land Fire uses data to connect the dots of performance on operational deployment, community risk reduction efforts, emergency call trends, and standards of cover.
And with that, we'll look at some of the data that we've captured this year. And we start with our incidents. We did have a little lull in incidents during 2020 when COVID hit, and we have more than rebounded. At one time, we were trending at 26%, which is a number you'll hear again, but it actually works out to about 23% for the year. We see a fairly standard distribution across the city of our 7 stations, and then the outliers, those are mutual aid. We continue to be very satisfied with the amount of mutual aid that we give and receive. It really works out as a force leverage tool for all of our surrounding departments. We move forward, we look at the incident types. We still trend in the middle 60s at about 66% EMS, and that's where we've seen our sharpest increase is in our high acuity medical. So it's not like the mundane calls. These happen to be the calls that cost the most to run. They have the highest impact to our community, and they require the most skill from our employees. And what we started tracking in the first quarter is when we run out of capacity for the 7th customer. It ends up being our 6th or 7th, depending on how you look at it. And so the first quarter data is skewed because we started in the middle of that, but you can see in the fourth quarter, 92 times in the quarter, we had no additional resources to send. And so we leveraged Fort Bend County on the EMS side, and we leveraged fire assets around us to make sure that we fill the void, just like other departments do for us. This is not unique to us, by the way, so this isn't a cry for help. And this is everybody in fire and EMS right now is stressed. We began mutual aiding into the county with some regularity here lately as they're running out of ambulance units themselves. Our goal measures, we attempt to respond to 80% of our calls within 8.5 minutes. On the fire side, we were at 82% for the year. On the EMS side, we missed the mark by 1%. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. I'm delighted to say that in dispatch, they're moving to a new EMD product, and that will help us prioritize our medical calls. We don't always send the closest unit to every medical call. If it's a low acuity call, we will send an ambulance from out of district and not front run with a heavy apparatus because it's not necessary unless we're trying to hit an arbitrary response time. And for that acuity of call, it doesn't make sense to put the public and our responders at risk. So as we use that EMD product to our full benefit, we will be able to dial in these responses, and we will only report like our highest acuity calls to you from here on. The 95% of EMS transports in city hospitals. You remember 2 years ago, Southwest, I reported to you Southwest had dropped their level 3 trauma designation, and we thought that there would be some impact. That year we had transported 6 times to the medical center. Last year we transported over 100. In 2022, we were transported 200 times by ground to the Texas Medical Center. That's the right destination for our customer, but it also increases transactional time exponentially. Our total unit responses, so those 11,500 calls yielded 18,000 unit responses. That's about 30% or so, 38% that we're actually running a heavy with an ambulance or multiple units. I think that that's in line with where we ought to be. Our average response time is about 7 minutes, 55 seconds. We break that down further on another slide for fire. You can see our busiest fire engine is Engine 1's running 2,250 calls. That's up about 400 calls from last year, and our busiest medic unit is Medic 4. I don't want to hear some groans in the back because Medic 1 always says they're the busiest. But Medic 4 actually just topped them, and that's also about 400 calls busier than they were last year. It's always interesting to see what the trend is. A while back, we had kind of a bell curve where Sunday and Saturday were very slow, and we got busy and Wednesday we kind of peaked. What we find now, Sunday's our slow day, and Monday through Saturday is fairly flat. So we use that as we're planning our training and ancillary duties. Just right now, it's just always busy. Time of day, we get busy about 7 a.m., and we run steady until midnight. We had 33 structure fires. That's up 1 fire from last year where we had 32. Our average response time to fire is 6 minutes, 34 seconds. Last year was 6 minutes and 33 seconds. The interesting thing is our second unit on location, which is really a good barometer of how well we can effectively attack that fire. We continue to be about 1.5 minutes for the second unit to get to the call. And that's our data. Now we're going to look at EMS operations.
Sugar Land Pre-Hospital Care is no longer just saving lives. Sugar Land Fire, EMS, is improving the quality of life in our community. EMS has seen the sharpest increase in demand for our service across our organization. We're dedicated to bringing emergency department level medicine to the scene of the emergency, wherever it happens, on a roadway, a work site, or in your very own living room. In 2022, we doubled down on our training efforts to enhance our clinical capacity. We upgraded our stroke care with a new assessment protocol that rapidly identifies the most severe strokes. Additionally, we're expanding our ability to identify cardiac issues with new techniques that also provide insight into heart health and overall functionality. Finally, we enhanced our cardiac arrest management by focusing on interventions shown to improve patient outcomes and integrated cutting-edge ultrasound technology that allows for a direct visual assessment of the heart in real time. These enhancements have us operating at our highest clinical level, which directly translates into improved health in our community.
Well, good evening. I'm Kevin Leverance. I'm our new EMS Battalion Chief here in the City of Sugar Land. And I'm both privileged and elated to come before you tonight to tell you just how transformative of a year 2022 was for our EMS care as we pursued our mission to bring emergency department level medicine to the emergencies where they happen in our city. So we committed 1,500 personnel hours to training. It says in the second half of 2022, but really that happened in about a 4-month span. And to put that in perspective, 1,500 personnel hours would usually take us 7.5 months to accumulate. So we took 7.5 months of training and put it on top of our regular schedule to enhance the ability we had to respond to emergencies in our city, specifically for heart attacks, for strokes, for injuries. I'm going to tell you how we're carrying that momentum into airway and ventilation management, and then get really excited when we talk about some of the trend-setting diagnostics that we're rolling into our care. When it comes to taking care of hearts, we took existing technology that we already have, and we used it in new ways to look for heart attacks that decimate heart health, because these subset of heart attacks typically go unfound. They get missed, and we aren't looking for them in our traditional ways. So now we're looking for them and finding them. We added in some additional medications that take a wonky heart rhythm and bring it back into a regular, effective rhythm. And when it comes to CPR, shocking some legal heart rhythms is crucial. And so much so that we adopted a very trend-setting technique of shocking the heart with 2 shocks from 2 separate machines at the same time. We rebuilt a lot of our injury care practices. Bleeding is our top killer when it comes to injuries. So we rolled in some new medications that help the body clot when it's bleeding, so we can stop that kind of life threat as quickly as we can. Additionally, in this bottom picture, you see a device called a pelvic binder. This is how we're going to manage pelvic fractures now. Because we think about the pelvis being bony, but we need to stabilize that fracture because it's also a major source of life-threatening bleeding when that's damaged. We put in some new equipment and some new assessment techniques on how we handle spinal injuries that bring more comfort to our patients when we're transporting them while protecting them from aggravating those injuries. In a truly trend-setting fashion, we rolled point-of-care ultrasound into the field last year. We were one of the few agencies anywhere, especially in our region, that has integrated this technology into our care. We're performing ultrasound diagnostics in our ambulances and in our residents' living rooms. We get direct visualization of somebody's heart to evaluate the function, the effectiveness. This helps us focus our care when we're dealing with heart failure, when we're dealing with cardiac arrest. And coming very soon, in the next month, spoiler alert for our supervisor getting this training next month, we're rolling into lung assessments to better handle respiratory emergencies that we encounter. And while we're talking about lungs, we can all agree that breathing is pretty important. I myself am a big fan of breathing. I like to do it every day. So it's a crucial system when we breathe. It is the single most effective system to keep the body in balance. We bring in oxygen, we take out waste, and when the breathing goes haywire, every other system goes down in the body. Okay? So we are taking the second half of 2023, we're putting all kinds of effort to bolstering our airway and management care, our airway and ventilation management care with some progressive interventions, additional medications, and even expanding how we use mechanical ventilators to improve and support breathing that's there or entirely replace breathing that has gone away. So we will continue to flourish and find opportunities to learn through our quality improvement processes. We review our performance, we deliver this feedback to the crews, but as it stands, our quality improvement processes are a little bit inefficient. It's very classic setup of reading charts and giving feedback. It's very how we've always done it in the EMS industry. So we took that as an opportunity to pursue some AI opportunities and incorporate software alternatives as we reimagine how we do quality improvement. And we're moving towards a truly trend-setting QI process that'll take our compliance from 3% on our chart reviews to 100%. It'll take our efficiency from 16% up to 100%. And it'll take our clinical excellence that we provide the residents of our city to a level that none of us have ever imagined when we rolled this out in 2015. So I appreciate the opportunity to come share some of our exciting accomplishments in EMS, and I'm even more excited to introduce you to the exciting things we do in our fire operations.
Fire operations is charged with response readiness for fire, rescue, and hazardous material calls. Sugar Land runs 7 heavy apparatus made up of 5 engines and 2 ladder trucks, operating out of 7 stations across the city. Daily operations are overseen by shift commander, working with the captain, and 7 lieutenants. There are 3 shifts, and the division works a 48-96 schedule, meaning the crews work 48 hours or 2 days, and then they're off for 96 hours or 4 days. Firefighters are all certified by the Texas Commission on Fire Protection as structural firefighters. Our onboarding, new hire, and continuing education training ensure our responders are up for whatever challenge the next emergency may bring.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Mark Campese, Assistant Chief, Emergency Operations. It is a great time to be part of the Sugar Land Fire Department right now. We've done a tremendous amount of work over the last year. You guys just heard over all the EMS training, but it's not just in EMS, it's across the board. Everything we're doing in training is focusing on everything from company officer development, multi-company training. When I talk multi-company training, over the last year we have enhanced our abilities to bring together multi-companies, right? Multiple stations. Instead of one engine company or one ladder company just going out and doing training by themselves, we're doing more work at the public safety training field to bring them together. When we respond to a house fire, we don't go by ourselves. We all come together. So this opportunity for us to come together takes us into like putting it all together. Our crews do a tremendous job with working on single tasks and trying to improve themselves on stretching hose, throwing ladders, cutting holes. This multi-company training allows us to put all that together and work on that deployment. And then lastly, one of the biggest things that we've increased this last year is our spend on outside training. When I say outside training, it is important that we get outside of Sugar Land and we watch and see not just what the state of Texas is doing, but what is the rest of the American Fire Service doing. So we have spent a tremendous amount of time and money to send our folks out. And the win in that is when we send our folks out, we make them come back and teach. And so we bring that back in and we expand on it. As I talked about company officer development itself, like you heard in the slide or the video, 3 shifts, 7 company officers, 1 at every fire station, right? It's 21 company officers. The lieutenants in this organization, I tasked them with setting the tone for our operations division. And so it's very important to me that we spend a great amount of time to come together and work on ourselves as leaders, as supervisors, and to make sure that we're actually doing everything we can to develop the new hires that we've brought into the organization. Deployment may not seem like a very important thing to you. It's very important to me. It's very important to our battalion chiefs. We've always expected our fire personnel to be ready to go, to be able to show up and to be given an order and to go execute. What I've wanted to do as we've come in is to automate that in a sense. And so what deployment means when you see engine work or ladder work, our crews that are riding ladder trucks today are focused and specializing on the truck work that we expect to come from a ladder company. Our crews that are riding engines, we're expecting them to focus and specialize on the engine work, stretching the lines, putting water on the fire, things of that sort. I expect every employee that's working to serve the citizens to be an expert of their craft. When we meet with new hires and I get to visit with them, I tell them just because you finished the fire academy and you've been hired by a fire department, you are not done. You have a tremendous amount of learning. Everyone, engineers, officers, chief officers, we all continue to learn to be experts of our craft. Another area of enhancement that you guys I think will really appreciate is rescue training. And when we say extrication, we talk mainly in the terms of automobile extrication. We've enhanced. We're in the process of bringing on some new equipment and enhancing our capabilities there. But more importantly, the specialty rescue. When we talk about the festival site and all the mountain bike trails that we have, the pump track, those type, the zip line, all those fun things that we're really excited about, when we learn of those things happening, we have to be ready. Who's going to go rescue someone off a zip line? It's us, right? Who's going to go get somebody off the mountain bike trails, off the roller coaster that our folks are also familiar with, because we go out there a lot. So we're investing a lot of time and a lot of effort. The pictures there you look at, that's rope rescue stuff. Usually the folks that are hurt on those trails, they're not just kind of hurt. Usually they're in pain and need quite a bit of attention. So we're focused on that, making it safer for the citizens as well. New hires, you'll hear some more numbers. It's in your book of business, but in FY22, we onboarded 22 new firefighters. That is a big lift. That was just in that fiscal year. In this current fiscal year of 23, we've brought on 13 more. And so that is a large number. You'll see the percent breakdown later. But it is very important to me that we bring those folks into our organization and we train them and show them what we expect from them. That is what the Sugar Land way is. We have our equipment, we have our response, but how do we function as a cohesive team so that we can continue that growth, right? We're growing in size, we're growing professionally as individuals, we're growing as an organization, we're growing as a family. So what's next? We're going to keep working on that staffing. We had a staffing plan that I think was presented to you guys before I got here in 21. So we're going to continue to address that staffing ratio to get our staff or our department adequately staffed where it needs to be. The biggest thing that benefits from us is that when I have the right amount of people here, I'm able to instill officer development programs and driver training programs and enhanced firefighter training programs. So we'll keep working on that. We're going to keep working on training. You guys heard all the EMS training we're doing, all the fire training. I'm doing that with one lieutenant helping me coordinate that in training. So as we move forward, we're going to have to enhance just our leadership over training to make sure that everybody's functioning all on the same page. So I appreciate your time. And next I get to show you a little bit about prevention.
The dedicated professionals of the Sugar Land Fire Marshal's Office are committed to preserving the life and property for the city while providing premier customer service. The division is responsible for ensuring fire code compliance, reviewing all construction plans, inspecting businesses, and conducting fire cause detection. Staffed with Texas peace officers, the Fire Marshal's Office is responsible for protecting the public interest by investigating arson. Fire Marshal staff are trained in all aspects of division business, which allows for evenly distributed workload for uninterrupted community coverage. We have been working hard to expand the capabilities of our division to respond and assist to all the needs of the community, whether it is fire, EMS, or law enforcement, each officer stands at the ready to serve.
That's supposed to be, there we go. All right, I'm James Serrano, and I'm the new appointed fire marshal of last year. Doug was crazy enough to do that after 19 years of working for prevention. So I'm blessed to have a great group of guys who are like the video said, we are firefighters, EMTs, and peace officers. So the city gets the best bang for their buck with us. So as we look forward, you know, our guys are very experienced. Between me and who we promoted to assistant fire marshal, we have 37 years of experience. We've been here to see a lot of the development of the city. I was here when we built the city hall, and this was my puppy. So I'm proud to do what I do, and our guys are proud and honored to do what they do. Our guys, we've kept for a long time. The last two people that left our division are retirees, and which was the fire marshal and one of our guys. So our guys are devoted to this department. Things that have happened. EnerGov. This was a challenge not for only our department, but definitely a lot of the other departments here in the city, which was probably one of the biggest tasks probably we ever did as a group, as all the departments involved. I will tell you this, when we took on EnerGov, we took fire permitting from City Hall and picked it up and moved it over to the fire department, which means all the transactions involved, invoicing, permitting, all plan reviews, the coordination of all that was taken and put down to the fire department. So that was our biggest task, and I gotta admit that we conquered. We still got a lot of work to do, some improvements to do, some enhancements, but it's working. And we're seeing some great communication with our contractors. The customer experience has been really, really well, and we're gonna keep working on it. And that's what we're gonna keep on doing with that. Our guys been training really, really hard this year. This past year, and it's been really great. We've deployed some new SOPs to mirror, which are standing operating procedures, to mirror what the PDs are. As law enforcement officers for the city, we want to look the same and do the same. So we've done a lot of that. We pushed out some cameras for our guys last year, which is really, really great. We've been working on embracing some partnerships, especially with the PD. We've been training with them quite a bit now. We actually took one of their CSI investigators, sent them to the National Fire Academy to get arson trained. And then their next step for that person is going to get into evidence collection for arson scenes. We're going to do that for another one this coming year. So that's going to be really, really good. So as far as moving on, we need to look at a new code adoption. We're behind on that. I think EnerGov kind of took up our time. And I think we need to push this because the future development that we're going to intake, it's going to need a lot more protection. A lot has occurred since our 2015 adoption, and we need to protect these people with these codes. So I think this is the best thing we need to do. We're going to authorize, hopefully Chief's going to give me the thumbs up to add an additional inspector. Since we promoted up, I got a vacancy. I got to get another foot on the ground, just over 32 million square feet of space that we got to cover around here. So, and we're going to keep on working with EnerGov. And now I'm going to pass it on to administration.
Responsible for the business side of things, our administrative staff serve our internal-facing clients. Administration is charged with reviewing our business processes and for continuous improvement and strategic planning. The team coordinates efforts between department divisions, liaisons with City Hall, provides for council-related agendas, budgeting, contract oversight, and all matters of the employment process, including hiring, assessments, promotions, and separations. Administration is staffed with a highly educated, skilled, cross-trained workforce to allow seamless operations.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Mangum. I'm the Assistant Director. It's my privilege to present to you the highlights of administration, which administration is not just my group of staff back here. It also is the logistics group, which is headed up by Chief Brown. I sound a little funny because I just got these Invisalign, and it makes me spit and stutter, so bear with me.
You're fine.
So administration, our purpose is to take care of business so our uniformed personnel can go out and take care of, Our purpose is to take care of business so that our uniformed personnel can go out and take care of the community. We're leaders. Last year, I briefly touched on our hiring process, but I want to focus in on that again. In the fire EMS industry, we're leaders in our 5-day hiring process. This is unheard of. Normally, it takes 6 to 8 months to hire a firefighter or paramedic, but we do it in 5 days. So what that translates to is we're respecters of time, and that firefighter, that go-getter, that paramedic that works somewhere else that's really not happy, we tell them, give us 5 days, and let's see if you're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for you, or vice versa if they want to come work for us. No hiring in the city compares to what we do. We vet, we test, we interview, we screen, we background, we measure, we outfit, we give them uniforms, gear, a multitude of systems, software, staffing to ladders or ambulances. It's an extremely extensive process, and again, I wish I could take all the accolades, but that's Chief Brown's group and the prevention group as well. With the assistance from our HR business partner, last year we vetted over 500 applicants. We tested and interviewed 85. We hired 22, and most recently we hired the 13. These are positive, energetic, wide range of background individuals that have made a positive impact on day one. Another contributor to our success is our CRM program we started. It's a candidate relationship management program. It's a personal touch. This isn't a software we bought. This is an in-house developed program that we and some of the group out here was part of. And basically what we do is we reach out to individuals that might want to come work for us, and we email them, we text them, we show up for them. And once they start with the department, they have somebody in their corner on day one. So our tenure landscape has changed drastically. We leaned more towards the plus 20-year side. Now we're at the more of the less than 5 years or less than 20 years. Unlike the great resignation that you hear out in other industries, we're in the process of building the great retention. And Chief Campisi alluded to that by our extensive onboarding process. We want to engage, we want to support. We also want to train, professionally develop, and do what we can for them to be the best at their craft. Also by promoting our values and reaching out to those that we want to be part of our team to determine if they're a right fit for us. Implementing a robust professional development and training is going to be key to the success of all these new people that we've just brought on board. We enable. You've heard of the upskill or reskill trend in other industries. Well, we've been doing that for a while now, and we have contributed to the success of the city as a whole by encouraging and assisting other departments with personnel who have been upskilled or reskilled. People like Kylie Jackson in innovation, Herc Meyer in public works, Cindy King in animal services, and most recently Gina McKinney in budget and strategy. We align. Like Chief mentioned earlier, we use data. It's a tool. All successful organizations use data. They analyze it. You have a lot of that analysis in our book of business, which we use to help us be on the same page, give consistent information, and maintain transparency throughout the organization. We collect data, we analyze it, we use it to make decisions, we write policy procedures, but the thing the department leadership consistently conveys to our team is that our purpose is more important than the process, and that is to serve, educate, and champion our workforce. We develop. Our staff of 4 often act as professional assessment team, along with the assistance of logistics and others within the department. Last year, we performed 2 assessments, one for lieutenants. 19 candidates went through the process and 4 were promoted. We did an engineer operator assessment. 30 candidates went through the process and 5 were promoted. We've had a lot of success there. By doing this in-house and promoting from within, it strengthens our culture and our retention. But again, I cannot stress enough that with this new young group of leaders and the tenure of our fire department now, professional development is going to be key to the success of the city and the department. Thank you. And now, my pleasure to present community and education.
Getting the message out is what our Information Services Division is all about. When COVID struck, we found the need to be able to reach a wide audience with the most up-to-date information. Those efforts have broadened into internal communication, educational updates, and even external marketing, which is one of the reasons Sugar Land Fire EMS is currently staffed with high-quality, industry-leading responders. Our newest community education efforts includes our Sugar Land Safety Shorts, an array of 2-minute safety videos available by scanning QR codes placed on apparatus, business cards, multimedia presentations, or by visiting our YouTube channel.
All right, good evening. My name is Scott Bauman. I am the community education representative for Sugar Land right now. So this year has been pretty busy. We started way back during COVID. We saw the need to really let our citizens know the best way to handle COVID at the time. So we started producing community education videos that were sent directly to community via social media. We've also used social media to promote our projects such as Stuff the Truck and annual toy drive, and really saw increased numbers in donations this year through the use of social media. We have collaborated with industry organizations like the Texas Commission on Fire Protection and the Texas Fire Chiefs Association to produce cross-branded content to help promote Sugar Land Fire EMS as an industry leader across the state. Our next endeavor has been to add to our current community safety programs by creating safety shorts. These will give key, readily available safety information directly to the public. So after the success we saw with our external outreach, we saw the need to reach internally and improve our internal communications. We've created a video series called Chief Chats, as you can see in the pictures above. These videos follow our bi-weekly command staff meetings and ensure our employees have the most up-to-date information on what is happening in the fire department. We're also currently recording episodes for a new podcast series that cover both the fire and EMS side of our business. These will serve as training tools for not only our internal staff, but also the industry more broadly. Also, with rapid improvement in our EMS capabilities, we saw another need to produce short training videos distributed to our employees. These videos set a baseline of knowledge that could be further enhanced through in-person classes. So recruitment, with the increased challenges posed by staffing shortages across the nation in all first responders, we found the need to aggressively promote Sugar Land Fire EMS across social media. The campaigns drew a huge amount of interest from not only in-state but also out-of-state candidates. And it is part of the reason why we are now fully staffed with high-quality people. So what's next for public education? As we look to the last 2 years, we found the opportunities to reimagine public education as it exists currently in Sugar Land. We want to transform that into a true community risk reduction program. So our traditional public education programs might not be addressing the areas that we see the largest increase in call volumes. And we're developing campaigns currently to address those needs. With that, I will hand it back to Chief Boca.
So thank you. There's a ton going on in the fire department. We're a couple months into 23, and we have 6 major priorities that we've undertaken. First is strategic planning, coming up with a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper strategic plan for our fire department that will feed directly into our FY25 budget process. The fire code adoption, that's not just a fire problem that encompasses several departments across the city. Our officer development program, best practices accreditation by the Texas Fire Chiefs, event coordination, and then finally financial planning and burn rate tracking. So there's a ton going on in the fire department. If not for the investment of this council and the hard work by our dedicated and skillful responders, we would not be successful. And so I would be remiss if I don't show you what that looks like in practice.
What is now known as the Sugar Land Fire EMS Department began as an emergency response team for the Imperial Sugar Company in 1843. 180 years of serving the community in times of need, during industrial emergencies, fire events, storms, hazardous material incidents, and medical emergencies. In 2023, we celebrate the 180-year milestone with a comprehensive 360-degree review of our operation, which will culminate with the creation of a strategic plan to launch us into our next 180 years. What a year for the Sugar Land Fire Department. 12,000 calls for service, 46% increase in CPR calls, 22 new employees. We're still dealing with COVID on a daily basis, navigating limited supply chain issues, funding medical supply costs that far exceeded inflationary factors, and responding to 26% more calls over the last 2 years. No other fire department is as uniquely prepared for such challenges as Sugar Land due to the support of our community, the backing of City Hall, and the dedication of our world-class workforce. Thanks in large part to the support received from the community, we've been able to enhance our capabilities to best serve the public. We funded equipment to push rescue capabilities, advance emergency medical care, and protect our firefighters during active fire attacks. We have one chance to get it right when you are in need. We work in a zero-failure environment. To ensure our ability to perform to the highest levels, the Sugar Land Fire Department has focused on 3 distinct areas: fire, EMS, and special operations. The Sugar Land Public Safety Training Facility is a regular stop for our crews as they refine their skills to best serve the public. VEIS, vertical vent, flow path, search, and making the push are all regular topics of training to ensure our crews are skillfully aggressive when needed. This year, Sugar Land will add thermal imaging cameras to every air pack, in addition to larger ticks on every apparatus. Emergency medical care is ever-changing and equates to about 65% of our call volume. This year, we advanced the use of ultrasounds in trauma and cardiac arrest. Respiratory ventilators are now available to our crews to give our patients the highest level of airway care. We continue to add to our arsenal of equipment, including pelvic binders and drug formularies, such as coagulants and antibiotics, to best serve our customers in the pre-hospital setting. 24-hour EMS shift supervisors, radically aggressive medical direction, and a new EMS clinical leader are all supporting our quest to provide premier EMS service. Special operations such as Raven Rescue, Vertical Rescue, and Extrication continue to see service expansions. Raven Rescue, a joint operation with the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Department, places our paramedics in austere conditions to provide early ALS care to patients prior to ground force arrivals. Continued training and preparations for active violence includes working with other fire and EMS departments and shoulder to shoulder with law enforcement. While we hope to never need these skills, Sugar Land Fire stands at the ready to serve the community should the need arise. Finally, all the equipment in the world is useless without a talented workforce. Sugar Land Fire Department employs 131 industry-leading responders. We onboarded a record number of new employees this year and made sure to provide them with a comprehensive training program to hit the streets running. Our new employee training program exceeds industry standard and ensures our continued ability to exceed the community's expectations. Sugar Land Fire. We're a part of the community, and the community is part of us.
I'm very proud to work for this fire department, to work with these very talented responders. And with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Question, Carol.
Chief, I want to thank you for your leadership of Fire EMS, and I want to thank everyone in the department for all you do to fight fires, save lives, or support those who do. And congratulations on having such a transformative year.
Suzanne.
I think you know.
Our biggest fan.
Anyone else? Chief, thanks to you and your officers. Thank you for the work that y'all do. I'd like to also recognize, I know dispatch is here, Shannon's in the back. So would you and your staff please stand? Without you guys, we can't get out there. So we appreciate what you do. Everybody. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. Let's move now to item number 9A. City Council member reports. Suzanne.
Start with me. Okay, thank you. I'm going to make this fast. I know we all want to go home. February 23rd, Fort Bend County Day. It was such a fabulous day to have leadership and residents from Fort Bend County go to the Capitol and fight over surplus funding. That was fun. March 4th, the Sugar Land Girls Softball Opening Day. Councilmember Kamali and Councilmember McCutcheon, we were there to celebrate the 30th day they played softball in that park. So thank you, everybody who takes care of that park, and what a great day. Thank you.
Nishad.
Suzanne and I visited the landfill where all of our trash goes, and we got to see where all of our trash goes, where public trucks and everything else, and it did not smell. It's in Pearland. You pass one landfill to get there, and we smelled it, and we thought we were there, but we're still 2 miles away. But the landfill we went to does not smell, and I was pretty impressed with what Blue Ridge and Republic does. And then most of council this past weekend last weekend attended the Chess Fest held right here and on the steps of City Hall, and hundreds of players from all over Southeast Texas came out and brings in a lot of economy to our city.
Carol.
Well, I attended City of Sugar Land Day at the Fort Bend Children's Discovery Center, and the city did a fantastic job on that, and the kids just loved it. And Budget even had a table there, and kids were given these little balls that they could use for excess budget, and they had little bags there, and the winners were actually for extra money was a canine officer and fire truck, and it was really cute. And the city also did a really great job on the ocean-bound exhibit that they had at the Museum of Natural Science, and so many kids have seen that, and Kavita told me how well received it's been by them and how much they've learned from that. And then I also attended the Fort Bend Chamber's grand opening of the Karahi Boys.
Stuart.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the First Colony Little League opening day, and I watched you throw out the first pitch, and you made us all very proud, despite bets to the contrary. I attended the Fort Bend Mayor and Councils Association, and I particularly avoided going to the landfill.
Jennifer.
I attended the Sugarland Little League opening day on Saturday, 65th year of playing Little League baseball. And the Harmony Schools of Excellence Middle School had a STEM and multicultural carnival.
William.
A lot going on right now, Mayor, but the West Sugarland Little League would not let me throw out the first ball. They didn't think I could get it there, and they were probably right. That was a new territory this past weekend. It's always good to see parents and, uncles and aunts and everybody just coming together in community and watching the kids have a good time. I do want to say, because the cat's out of the bag, March 22nd and March 25th, we have some park openings. And I hope everybody in Sugarland is as excited as I am, because I know there's a bunch of us can't wait. So I can't wait to see you on the zip line and a bicycle.
I'll be there.
The fire department's ready for you.
But not at the same time. No bicycle on the zip line for the mayor. How's that?
All right. We had, our council members did a great job at our State of the City. We delivered, I think, what was a very progressive message. And that was not on behalf of us, that was on behalf of all of you. So we've got a bright future ahead of us. We certainly have a bright future ahead based on what we've heard tonight from police, from fire, from dispatch, and from the men and women that we have working 850 plus for this city. I couldn't be more proud of what you all have accomplished, what our city has accomplished in the last year. And I couldn't be more proud of how well positioned we are to go into the future. Jennifer.
I think you covered it well. No comment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:13. Thank you, Carol. You were on that one.
I was on it, yeah.
They did very, very well.